talk about that as we go into the end of pick and bans. Let's talk about what eStar need to do to achieve, because they're going to be banning away the TF from Yagal.
Aphelios is open. That's the first thing that jumps out to me. And you know what's interesting about these bans, people might not know, is FunFun is actually 5-0 on the set.
Yep.
So we do always see set banned against eStar as a good ban. And overall, JDG, just with the best first pick there really is in this meta.
We also know that Wei would appeal to this Graves. This has been a favorite of his as well. When we talk about Kanavi on carry junglers, this has often crossed his path as well.
Yeah, this is both players' most played champion, especially Wei. He's really looked like a standout on this one. We have Wei, these types of players who once they get on the Graves really can't just take over a game single-handedly. And now this is a place where I'd really expect for eStar to pick up something like an AD carry. But maybe going with the Karma because we already see 2 bans towards the mid lane.
Interesting, okay.
FunFun isn't one of the mid laners that we'd expect to pick up a Syndra, so, you know, that would be in the cards for another team, but yeah, gonna secure this Karma very early and already having this mid-jungle synergy where, you know, FunFun's gonna consistently have push and can support Wei with his aggressive counter jungling.
When FunFun was in the mid lane here, he did play it a couple of times, so wouldn't be too surprising at the very least. But Lee Sin, most played here for Kanavi.
Karma's one of the champions that there just really aren't any bad matchups into. You pretty much neutralize everything in lane because of how easily it is to clear the wave with those mantra Qs. And when you could combo with such a carry jungler, it's very nice. Also sets up if eStar do want to dip into the AD carry pool. So if they would want to pick support here, but we need to remember Karma also is a flex, so that would also break that pretty early.
And you are going into a Bard here. It's Lumao meta. It's going to be his 10th game played here on the champion.
Like the expected champion here would obviously be the Ashe.
Yep.
But setting up for the Graves in the jungle. But eStars, like we said, is one of these teams that is more willing to throw a bit of a wrench in draft and kind of play the game and pick champions at their own pace.
Gets locked in. All right, now. Some solo laners to be picked up here across the board. 1 for eStar, that is the Karma through the mid, and 2 for JDG.
And for eStar's comp, you definitely expect some kind of tank in the top lane. Right now, you already have 2 strong DPS champions, both in jungle and AD carry. So maybe going to put CJJ on that facilitation role that we see Xiaobai play. So whether it is something like an Ornn or a Wukong is definitely where I expect eStar to look.
CJJ in his 1 game played here in the LPL, played the Wukong. So.
And I love when you have Wukong alongside the Karma, so even helping him even more so be able to get onto the carries of JDG. Obviously, another argument you can make is, hey, you know, there's an Aphelios on the other team. We want to play more from a range. We have a ton of poke coming out from Karma and Ashe. You could pick something like an Ornn, which does also offer that long-range engage and disengage role with the Call of the Forge God.
Okay. Talking about poke, do I dare say something like a Jace, or is that not as relevant when you could be blinding it?
The thing is, you just never know, right? Because we've already talked about that CJJ does play these types of champions. He's actually played Jace and Kennen, which both go into the realms of a sort of like poke/disengage sort of comp. So it's always in the wheelhouse, but we've talked about it many times in broadcast. We don't like when we see either of those champions blind picked. Yep. And when it comes to supports, I mean, Xiaoxi has played a bit of everything.
So with the Jace ban, at least we don't have to talk about that anymore. We'll throw it in the bin for a bit. Xiaoxi says, here we go. Let me just show you what I'm playing right on up. Get the Nautilus done and dusted for a top lane counter pick.
He's played it 2 times, so going to see Xiaoxi potentially pick that one up in the bot lane and just offering them more engage options alongside that Ashe. So eStar don't care about showing, hey, this Karma is set in the mid lane. Like, we know this is the sort of style that FunFun loves to play.
Yep.
And now going to leave that counter pick for CJJ, which obviously opens up more options in counter picks, as we were talking about with things like the Jace and the Kennen.
Is there a safe option here for Zoom in the top side?
I mean, this would be pretty standard Zoom, right? Just going towards that Mordekaiser. It's a champion he looked really good on, especially in spring. It was one of his go-tos. He's obviously stepped away from it a bit more in summer and preferred to go towards things like the Volibear and the Ornn, but both of those are banned.
A must ban against JDG. We've said that multiple times here when running into them. But Yagal, one of his best champions, one of the champions he's known on, is this LeBlanc.
I mean,
into the Karma.
And this is just showing that he just values the comfort and experience he has on this champion more than anything else, because it's not particularly a good laning phase into Karma. Obviously, Karma can push you in and force you to use your distortion on the wave. You don't really have the burst potential against the Karma from her shield. So the thing I like about eStar's comp overall is it's actually very tanky and very durable up against something like a LeBlanc and a Lee Sin, which are very burst-oriented champions.
This would be a call-out as your second game in the LPL to say, hey, Zoom, come at me. Fiora locked in.
I mean, it's a good matchup too, right? And it's something where, hey, Mordekaiser's the type of champion who wants to pull you to the death realm, get that isolated 1v1. There's almost no champion that wins the isolated 1v1 up against a Fiora, so eStar, their comp has a lot of strong scaling elements. They have a very good neutralizing early mid game. That's what Karma just does. It makes it very hard for the enemy mid jungle to find any sort of opportunities. They have pick potential coming out from the Ashe as well. So I feel like eStar's comp overall is very well-rounded.
Okay. Is it a hard enough front line in the Nautilus there to consider that, you know, there is a front line in this team?
Yes, and especially for the reason that, you know, we already talked about that they have the Karma shields coming out. They're going to have the speed up if they do need to disengage. They also have the Enchanted Crystal Arrow, which can be used as a disengage tool if they do just want to play heavily for the 1-4. And even when we look at the side of JDG, right, their only hard set engage is landing a Tempered Fate. Their comp is obviously way more about picks. When you see Lee Sin, LeBlanc, and Bard, you know, hey, it's about this 3-man core roaming around the map, trying to catch people out with the Tempered Fates. If LeBlanc can distortion in, hit that chain, set up the burst for a Lee Sin. But I actually feel like eStar's comp does a pretty good job of dissuading that. Like, it looks very hard to find picks in the mid lane. It's really going to rely on Fun overstepping. Or if you can set up an early play on that bot lane. So JDG do have options.
But at the very least, you're talking about the scaling available for eStar here and how well-rounded it is. JDG to get the ball rolling early?
Yep, JDG definitely the comp that needs to accelerate the game. The thing is, we do see a lot of comps like this where the comp needs to accelerate, but you do still have that Aphelios.
The option.
So the option's always there, right?
Okay. Easier said than done. Any other team than JDG right now who is sitting first. First again is a bit of a surprise after how they started the split. A little bit shaky, their wins were questionable, but now 11-2 with a game score of 23-9. JDG are soaring to semi-finals at this pace, and eStar are in the way. But how heavy are they to deal with as eStar are fighting for their playoff life, fighting for life in general, realistically. 3-9. If they manage to make playoffs, we will bow down and call them the new kings, because it looks pretty damn hard, even if they can manage a win here.
Exactly, and the thing is, like, obviously you start trying to win, it would be great for them to pick this up, but just by the fact that they are bringing CJJ in here today and that they've continuously chosen to commit to Rat definitely talks more about the long-term planning from eStar rather than them hoping to pick up wins in the short term.
You'd say returning to form as they start an invade here. And Fen rolling in as well, slowed down with the Inner Fire and the Mantra. Bit of damage available, and we're at 125, so for Kanavi, he's going to start his camps off at half health, while eStar continue this invade forward, and blue buff to be given over to Wei. So really aggressive start from eStar.
And we just saw the power of Karma there, right? Just having very low cooldowns, very high burst cooldowns with her base damages. So being able to chunk out Kanavi pretty well and going to end up counter jungling, taking away this blue buff. Looks like they're just going to commit to fully kind of cutting the map and going straight towards that Gromp. So going to give CJJ a lot of comfort and safety in the top side, which for his second game in LPL definitely sounds like a nice choice.
Yeah. When you're going up against a top laner like Zoom, even though you have a nice matchup.
And even thinking that, right, eStar's bot lane isn't really too threatened by a Bard and a Aphelios. There really isn't much kill threat there unless eStar are the ones, you know, over-aggressing and make a mistake and then get caught out with Kanavi coming in from behind.
But for JDG, I do like to bring up that you're talking about early roll here. I have to pause myself. What you see on the bottom of the screen right there talks about JDG's ability to knock out eStar. Of course, if eStar loses, they are confirmed out of playoffs. After their spring debut in playoffs, it would be disappointing, but we've kind of gone through that channel of affairs. Lyric, I'm going to bring us back here. You talked about early rolling here for JDG and their ability to maybe try and pick off bot, but you also mentioned it in compilation with your gal, who was going to get ganked through here mid and pushed.
Yeah, and I mean, this just feels like a really good matchup for Fun, right? You can continuously throw out these skill shots, and you see how much damage he's doing to Yagao already. You have a very strong mid-jungle 2v2, which when you see LeBlanc Lee Sin, that's what they want. The name of the game is mid-jungle 2v2 for LeBlanc Lee Sin, but...
Oh, wow. Kanavi's mid. Funfun escaping. Chain's going to lash down. A flash might need to be burned. Yep. Sonic Wave into the cripple. Not going to burn it until late, but under turret, the root comes down, and Kanavi manages to get away, but the flash burnt crucially through Funfun.
Right, he found the perfect window. Right after Wei shows and they get a bit of pressure down themselves, he leaves. Kanavi knows, hey, well, most likely Wei's still not going to be here wasting time. He's going to go back and farm his camps. Finds an opportunity to force out that flash, and now taking advantage of the fact that Kanavi is low, Funfun, of course, has TP, and going to be able to get the scuttle for himself.
And maybe the other one as well. Red side available for him. He's already up in CS, and that bottom scuttle could be for the take.
And let's remember, too, that as you said up in CS, we saw Kanavi just having to go to his jungle camp, and looks like he was only able to pick up one of the small wolves, so going to be quite far behind in terms of experience. Right now, Kanavi's still only level 3 to where Wei is level 4.
Just in terms of options as well, right? Krug's still there for Wei.
And this is what we said, to where JDG are the ones who need to outpace eStars, right? But eStar are the ones with the early game advantage. And this is why when you see comps like this where, hey, we have Graves Karma in the mid lane, so it neutralizes a lot of champions like the LeBlanc. You still have an Ashe who provides a bit of early pressure, especially at that level 6 point. Then you have a hard scaling element in top side like the Fiora. It just feels like your comp has ways of defending and attacking at all points in the game.
That's why I like the wording you use with well-rounded, because, you know, it does a little bit of everything and kind of completes itself, if that makes sense.
No, I think you really hit the nail on the head with that one. And this is going to be one where I really feel like we're going to need for Lumao, especially once he hits that level 6 point, to find some kind of, you know, nice roam into the mid lane. Maybe we hit a Tempered Fate onto the Karma. We transition that into a big play onto Dragon.
As let's wait for Zoom in a bit of trouble. Slowed down here with a cross flashing forward his way. Wants to kill. Smoke screen down. Nice gank and nice first blood to CJJ.
And even nice setup, right? This goes back even probably 4 waves, you know, in the past, to where CJJ was able to get that bounce back. Now gets the wave on his side of the lane. And I mean, right, Fiora Graves doesn't really sound like a very strong gank setup. You have no CC to find anything, but great job by Wei to come in, and they have the confidence to commit. Commits the flash, and they pick up the kill.
And you talk about the lane setup, it's still there. Zoom had to TP in, he now has no summoners, and CJJ has all. So Zoom has to walk to him, and there's a CS leader crewing in that top side, and momentum for eStars here. We talked about it needed for JDG, as Shousy's going to spot out Lumao. And we're going to get a bit of non-supportal combat here in the end.
And we said how...
Kanavi's actually over. Sonic Wave connecting into Funfun. The burn down. Drew him in for Kanavi under turret. Helps to secure the kill for Yagao, but he goes down first as Yagao's low and running for his life. eStar still up a kill.
And I mean, we've seen both sides of how these comps work. We talked about the 3-man core from JDG and how it wants to impact the mid lane.
As Dredgeline pulls on in, Lumao stuck around for way too long. Out with the magical journey. The exhaust won't save his life. He burns down. Yagao locked in place, but gets the distortion. And Chelsea's now low as well. I think he's just saved the play for JDG. Dredgeline in, almost kills it, but now Yagao's 3-0.
And that was a massive misstep from Wei. Wei committed a bit too much for the kill on the Lumao. He did have the red buff, so Lumao was like guaranteed dead. He was going to burn down and die regardless. Takes a turret shot, sets up for Yagao to find the kill with the distortion, and then great job for Yagao to find the next one onto Xiaoxi as well. Now we have a 3-0 LeBlanc. We're saying, hey, it's going to be hard for this duo to find picks up against what eStar have drafted. When you have a 3-0 LeBlanc, right, it's going to be pretty easy. You're going to be able to get pressure in this mid lane now that you do have the Lost Chapter, and potentially start finding picks onto both side lanes, honestly.
And plus, with everything going on, Loken stayed bot, farmed up a Storm, and picks up turret plating with Crescendum available. So this has just gone from a great early game to now a bit devastating for eStar after what they found mid, after what they found top to get their ball rolling.
And it was great after the 1-for-1 trade, especially where, again, JDG committed a lot to picking off Funfun, but being able to get the kill in return on the Kanavi, I think was, you know, fair enough win, especially with how much CJJ is winning in the top side. But this is definitely going to at least give JDG a bit of wind in their sails.
As Kanavi now being tested, though, level 5 versus level 6, and just going to leave Wei to it.
And I love how we're just seeing a 4v4 on the top side of the map for the past 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Both AD carries still bot. Actually looks like Loken is going to go take the blue buff.
He's doing it by himself. Xiaoxi going to interrupt that, but no, he's coming back towards mid. Sees Lumao as Funfun being dove on. Remember this, Fed LeBlanc now trading extraordinarily well. Funfun walking forward, not the angle. Manages to survive, but he has to leave lane.
Yeah, and this is so massive. And just so nice to see how those 3 kills are transitioning to such pressure. again, it is nice that Fun is on the Karma, obviously. So the fact that he didn't get burst out by a 3 LeBlanc is pretty nice, and he does still have that heal since he is running Spellbook.
And he is staying in the lane to correct myself, so you mentioned it, the Corrupting Potion also ticking.
Ooh, this is going to be a bit rough. Zoom is obviously level 7. He has the Death Realm. Looks like it is just way shadowing the lane, making sure CJJ can get this push without any gank interference. We do see on the minimap that Yagao was hovering towards topside.
The riposte interaction with the Death Realm is one I look forward to seeing this game quite a lot. To interrupt and stop. CJJ is actually a level up. We need to take stock of where the CS differences are in this lane because it's about 15 at the moment with Zoom getting destroyed before.
But it's evened out, right? We look at bot lane to where Loken is heavily winning after that push that you talked about where Rat, I don't know if he was forced to reset since we had so much action on the top side or, you know, he just couldn't find a good reset since Lumao was hovering on lane, something along those lines. And now we see that once again, Loken just going to get a bunch of free turret plates in bot side while eStars take Rift Herald.
Seems like a worthy trade for eStar at the very least. Get some gold back into them. As Cloud going to be started off here, but you know what my problem is? There's 3 turret plates gone bot.
And the thing is, what? It's not exactly a worthwhile trade in the sense that we see this so often these days. We talk about it pretty much every day on broadcast of, you know, the Bard counter to Rift Herald and how often we see it done.
As the Enchanted Crusader comes down, flash with the Dredge line. Bit too far forward is Loken to get the shield, but the Tempered Fate is slow. That's because they got the Cosmic Binding. And eStar just said, never mind, we'll go in it.
Just overall, nice job coming out from eStar. Loken felt safe because obviously Kanavi and Lumao are on the bot side of the map.
Shoutzy going over the wall. Now, Binding's not going to connect, nor is the Dredge line through the goal post, but here comes the lockdown with a depth charge. Shoutzy follows up with an auto collateral damage for the damage with one more auto remaining. Kanavi survives thanks to a bit of red buff and healing magic.
That was a clean safeguard to that ward right through the magical journey. So great play coming out from Kanavi to survive in the end, but you're potentially setting up for a good chance for Wei to use his Herald. So just going to back off.
Okay, backing into the speed of it. And what a fun early game it's been. It's been a while since I've cast, at least a day.
I was going to say we cast the day before yesterday.
The day before yesterday, let's be honest, those games of League of Legends were not.
They were not pristine.
They were not. One of them was fun. The FPX EDG is, I believe, what we cast was actually not bad. Was that FPX EDG?
No, that was not us.
Was that not us?
No.
That was me and Dak. Was I here on Monday?
Yeah.
That was.
Yes, you were.
I tell you what. After spring and summer, there is a lot of LPL, and I don't remember.
It all
what
blends
happened
together.
Yesterday,
It really does. It really does all blend together.
But good to see some early action, early blood on the Rift. Now, I'm going to be talking a lot about CS leads here in this game, ladies and gents. I'm going to be talking about items coming across first because Athene's here on the mid lane Karma. The Ravenous picked up first. And some 2 items on the board here for eStar. And we're going to look at Loken and Yagao. Almost first item with the Infinity Edge for Loken. Yagao the same. With the Lost Chapter sitting in his inventory for quite a while. And they've got the gold lead on JDG that's keeping them afloat.
Yeah, still though, they don't really want to opt into a straight 2v2 up against Shoutzy and Rat. Luckily, Shoutzy doesn't have ultimate right now, so not too much kill threat coming down onto Lumao or Loken. I feel like for the side of eStar, you still just want to keep setting up CJJ to do extremely well. And I would love if they end up using that Herald for CJJ and topside and just keep accelerating this Fiora because he already has a massive advantage like we see right now sitting at about 20 CS, maybe slightly below since it does look like Zoom's about to catch a wave. But no one will be able to answer him in a side lane.
Especially when he gets that second item, Trinity Force, and that's pretty big.
But so it looks like eStar trying to set up an Enchanted Crystal Arrow play onto Loken and Lumao and try to use Herald on bot side. But look at the minimap. Kanavi reads this. Kanavi is heading over.
Yagao doing the same as well. Tempered Fate onto the wave. Enchanted Crystal hits Lumao. And Wei's still here, but I'm not sure anymore.
Yeah, that was a pretty big cooldown. Lumao also has no mana.
Yeah.
Oh, I think Loken is...
Suspects it. Ward down. Versus 3. Shoutzy angling for the Dredge line.
And eStar were really patient on that one. Shoutzy obviously thinking had he walked forward a bit sooner, maybe Loken could have had more time to react. And looks like they just want to take some play spot here.
Versus 4. Yagao is still up towards the mid lane. He pushed in for a turret plating himself.
He's finding a flank.
Dredge line now to start the engage under turret. Lumao just gets destroyed. Welcome. Sonic Wave connects. Kanavi ready to angle in himself into Resonating Strike. Shoutzy goes gold in the nick of time. Flashes away. Yagao gets some burn down. Comes back in. Ready for the burn onto Shoutzy too. eStar's quite low on Wei and Shoutzy, but Kanavi's the same. Funfun gets a burn down. Apparently my keyword for this fight is Yagao. Can't get the chain either.
I mean, overall, we saw the power of Karma in that skirmish, right? Every time it looked like Yagao or Kanavi could have found a pick, Funfun coming in with a great shield, and this is why it's going to be so hard for JDG to be able to find these advantages. Obviously, could have been way different had JDG, you know, had Luma alive, been able to find that Tempered Fate, but does get bursted down pretty quickly, and this is why you see things like Karma coming back into the meta paired alongside a Graves, especially next to something like an Ashe and Nautilus that has all that CC, sets up for the burst from the Graves so nicely and gives them an avenue to snowball this game.
Plus, it's such a cheap 2 items, right? When you have a Fiends, when you have Ardent Sensor being super cost efficient.
And the worst part about it is how this thing can be flexed into pretty much every role, honestly.
Yeah.
Obviously not jungle, but I wouldn't be surprised with the fact that, you know, we had Brandon Morgana jungle in the solo queue meta for quite a bit.
I remember the patch notes being like, we're going to try this.
We're going to try and buff up everything's damage to monsters.
And, yeah, I'm glad it didn't really translate into competitive play.
I think it did in, like, secondary leagues in, like, Europe, but really? It is nice we didn't see it here. Would have been a weird world we lived in.
I mean, we say nice, but it could have been a lot of fun. True. To be fair. Especially with the quality of players we have in this league.
Also, we see JDG going for the lane swap.
Yep.
My guess is to dodge out the matchup with Zoom, not having to face CJJ any longer. And they're also going to get more gold on the Loken, so kind of accelerating the pace of the game, which is obviously what JDG's comp needs to do anyway.
If you look up at the gold, after the turret going down, we're only 2,000 behind. Sorry, 2,000 ahead for eStar. Not only. This is great.
Yeah, this feels amazing. And this goes back to what we set up with the win conditions for these comps and just how nice what eStar drafted into what JDG picked up is.
There's great time flash for Shoutzy. Smoke screen back on the clone while they get the turret. Yeah. Ambitious, but still, with the turret down, makes it worthwhile.
And let's remember that JDG picked the LeBlanc into what eStar already drafted. Yep. They picked the LeBlanc into the Karma Graves, knowing, hey, this isn't going to be an easy time to burst anyone out. And sure, the LeBlanc is 3-0, but the LeBlanc is really 3-0 as a byproduct of eStar's over-aggression.
It does feel like a 3-0 relative in this game is not the same as a 3-0 in maybe another game.
I mean, look, he jumps in there, he finds the chain, he instantly has to back out.
JDG, well, they lose mid-turret and come back to another Herald. Talked about the lane swap. We're going to see that coming into fruition as well here to help net. Second Herald of the game.
And we expect this one to definitely be used mid at some point. Maybe JDG try to send, you know, Yagao into a side lane, get some pressure up against Funfun, rotate him over first, and use that 4-man core to break down mid, but not as easily done as it was for me to say, especially as we look in bot lane, right? CJJ is going to have permanent push into Zoom, so Fiora isn't the type of champion who really wants to come and join the fight. You know, don't have any AoE or all single target damage. You really want to look for these one-on-one duels, but still is going to have the constant threat of hovering over towards mid, and if JDG do overextend for a Herald play, that CJJ can come in and pick up some kills.
On CJJ as well, that's still that level lead, but just note that there's no first item for Zoom yet. Opting in for the Bramble Vest, went for the Haunting Guys secondary.
He needed to opt into the Bramble Vest, though.
And you know what? Lumel needs to die. There goes the first kill of the fight, as Wei's just telling Kanavi to go. There is no way that this jungler is going to lose out at this point. And eStar's, they have 5 people for mid. CJJ's grouped up. And with the back and the death of Lumel, that's free.
And let's remember that no one on eStar was showing on the map at that point. No one was up in topside pushing out the wave. CJJ wasn't bot because Mordekaiser was catching the wave near his turret. So I feel like JDG could have assumed that maybe eStar were posturing mid because their bot lane was showing on mid wave. But obviously, it looks like Kanavi and Lumao's guess was that maybe eStar went for some resets and weren't on the map. We're punished for it, though.
But Herald going to be put down mid, so there is going to be a trade, however long we waited for it.
Yep. Going to use the window of eStar's reset timing to at least pick something back up in return. But ultimately, the fact that you are using this Herald just to trade a turret that you just lost along with the kill doesn't feel good.
Doesn't even get the secondary charge to add that insult to injury. And we're going to wait for the next timer, which is the Ocean Dragon for an Ocean Soul Rift coming up. And now, I was concerned for JDG about 8 minutes ago. I feel like at this point, I should still be concerned.
Yeah, they're definitely, I mean, we said, right, they need to accelerate the pace of the game. So at this point,
Waiting.
all of their eggs are in the Loken basket, which the Aphelios basket is a good basket to have your eggs in.
Yeah, sturdy.
But at the same time, when you do have this comp that honestly can kind of play from a range against what JDG have drafted, it's not going to be an easy time for Loken either. I will say it's kind of impressive that JDG are staying only a 1.5 gold lead behind eStar, but at the same time, that's completely contradicting what your comp needs.
As Yagao goes topside versus 2, even watching this is a little bit painful. No damage was done to CJJ or FunFun.
He's going to have Triforce, maybe on this back.
Yeah, he's massive. We just had a highlight towards the bottom of our screen. 200 CS at 19 minutes in the game and counting. I mean, CJJ has played this game out very well and off of 1 game, 1 first blood.
And to remind you guys, CJJ did go back down to the eStar's LDL team, where they were doing quite well, and he is a more carry-oriented player, as we said at the start of the day, plays things like Jace, like Kennen. He's pulled out the Lucian top in the LDL, he's played the Vladimir, so he is a player that feels fine taking the responsibility of the game onto his shoulders, and it's nice to see him come back in against the first-place team, have a solid game. And
who was pitted as a top 2 mid top laner as well, right? Zoom was looked at as the best, if not the second best top laner after Spring. Now, of course, that's changed, but Zoom's always in that discussion.
Zoom has been looked at as one of the best top laners in LPL for years.
Yeah.
Heck, I know a lot of, I've seen fans argue, hey, Zoom's actually been the best top laner for years, but fans just don't know about it because they don't watch LPL. They only see people like the Shy pop off at Worlds. So Zoom has a lot of very ardent supporters in his corner.
Yes, he does. Yagao also being one of them on his own team, I would say, is CJJ. Going to pull Zoom to going golden. He slowed down and with Grand Challenge issues. CJJ wants a bit of more, but he won't find it. Zoom forced to flash away, but this turret might not be long for the world. Zoom staying could be a detriment.
Yeah, we look at the top side of the map, though. Yagao actually being able to pressure this turret is massive.
Yep.
I actually don't feel like eStar even needed to commit to giving this one up.
Woo! That was quick from old Blue Mel. And there you go. Towards inhibitor turret. There's no one there, but not going to push for it yet. Forces are back.
It's just going to be a bit of gold into JDG's pocket. Realistically, no one on JDG's side should be able to push far enough up to take an inhibitor turret by themselves, but if eStar aren't going to dedicate any resources towards the top side, you know, maybe they'll get the chance. I feel like FunFun could have recalled sooner there, and even the pressure you just have from your bot lane duo and your mid, and your jungler, I'm sorry, should be enough for CJJ to go aggressive in the spot lane, but obviously they had FunFun on this side of the map as a result of wanting to dedicate 5 men to take that dragon. So JDG just accepting, hey, we're not going to get the dragon, we're going to try and get a tower on the opposite side of the map in return, and they get a bit of gold out of it. I mean, only 700 gold out now.
Yeah. And importantly, Yagao gets towards his second item. And when you talked about Loken being the focus now for JDG, considering where this game's going, you still have to remember that Yagao, if he catches anyone in isolation like Wei, then there's potential, but he misses the binding. What a bummer.
Yeah, it's interesting to see that he did go towards that Morello. I'm guessing he just wanted the instant stats right now since the game is in a pretty dire situation. The only thing that's flawed with that logic is that there's no neutral objective up to fight over, so you could have actually made your way towards building towards another item, whether you wanted to, you know, sit on Oblivion Orb, go towards a Death Cap or Spellbinder or something along those lines.
So you don't think the healing from 3 of the members is enough to justify? I guess we haven't actually seen him in trades or picks anyway. I'll ask you that question in a second. It's worth a discussion because FunFun getting cornered out cleanses away.
The thing is, Yagao should never be looking to like jump into numerous members to apply those Grievous Wounds towards in a fight. He should just be looking to find picks off in the side lane like we see him doing now. So definitely getting more combat stats.
And more AP is more damage.
Yes.
To put it simply.
More AP is more damage.
Wow, that's amazing. Heal burn. Lumao actually takes the brunt of it. Smoke screen down. Collateral damage used. Lumao gets low, but not low enough.
2020.
I have good points sometimes, I know. CJJ, meanwhile, While eStar can fumble around through mid, he can keep doing this. 260 CS at 23 minutes. This is the CJJ game. Imagine if CJ Entis was still around. They thought, let's get this CJJ guy. CJ Entis.
I mean, you said that backwards. It'd be
CJ Entis.
CJJ.
Oh yeah, true. What a damn shame.
You are an interesting character.
Oh, my brain today's very strange. It's just one of those days, you know? I think because it's a Wednesday, it's the end of our English week. Ramping up to FPX and LGD. And eStar being this far ahead, and with comps you've talked about, is just a surprise considering how we saw JDG. Now, the game not said and done, but Ash does help spotting any brush plays.
Exactly, because this is what JDG need to do, right? They're the ones on the clock. They're the ones who need to find these types of picks. They try to set up for it, but hey, Hawkshot does a great job of dissuading those sort of plays.
eStar can just walk by.
Yeah, eStar are fine just kind of waiting out the next dragon. CJJ going to be able to pick himself up a Rift Herald. Not a Rift Herald, I'm sorry, a Red Buff.
Hey.
I guess my brain's not here today either yet.
That's okay. CJJ's level 15. He almost has a death dance. I'll keep tracking, folks. I'll make sure I don't miss a beat here while eStar go back towards the mid lane. JDG. I guess one thing that could also put this game in their favor is sneaking a Baron with an Aphelios that has Crescendum. It will go down decently quick.
Ooh, true. Xiaoxi is here, though. I mean, pretty much all the members are making their way over.
Spotted out at 6k. They're going to take it, but Waves in the back of the pit. Tempered Fate down. They want to burst it through. Arrow comes through. The smite in as well. JDG have taken him to CJJ on the way in the back of the pit with Teleport burnt down. He has Grand Challenge, but Loken has all the chakrams available. He flashes away from the dredge line. That would have ended this fight. And he survives. Pokes him down once again. Spins to win with those little blades at his side. And JDG with the Baron unscathed.
I mean, that was so clutch coming out from JDG, and this is why JDG picks up a lot of games that we don't expect him to, because they find plays like this. They take advantage of weaker teams by looking for these sort of plays. I just feel like the right response by eStar would have just been trying to not dissuade, but kind of buy time while just accepting, hey, we're probably going to lose the Baron.
Good journey. Exhaust used. Look at CJJ. Now with an Aphelios on his tail, he's going to get poked on down. The ult lands. The bit of poke to follow through. CJJ survives, though, in the end. Dying would have added that extra bit of salt that JDG needs to start pushing down some of these turrets.
The great thing for eStar now is, though, that they are on soul point, so you just got to wait out the Baron. 4 minutes, 40 seconds, they're going to be able to look for this play. They're still going to have consistent side lane pressure wherever CJJ is, but now with the fact that JDG do have the Baron, they're going to have, like, pushing mid-wave. They're going to be able to hover over and try to dissuade that push coming into CJJ. Just overall really good Bard ultimate coming out. I feel like Loken probably should have thrown out that ult a bit sooner, but it doesn't matter. It feels like the members of eStar were too far away.
Yep.
So I feel like CJJ probably should have just committed to trying to get that inhibitor turret in bot.
But now that we're back to live, we see the Baron through mid. I was going to be curious about how JDG played this out, but the attention being paid to Yagao, and Chadakosara hits him mid-distortion. He'll get locked down, pulled back, and dies for a shutdown while JDG measly getting in a turret.
Still, though, I feel like that should be the only turret that JDG are able to pick up now, because you're not going to have 3 lanes of pressure, or 2 in that situation with the 1-4 setup. So eStar going to be easily able to allocate enough resources to deal with JDG's 4-man push and continue to let CJJ farm up in a side lane.
Gave a bit more gold back in the pocket for eStar as well. To keep on tracking. Let's run through mid. Get that wave chucked out.
So just going to get some vision control set out, maybe setting up for any potential picks they themselves could find. Wave's just going to steal away some of Kanavi's jungle as well, so making sure that harder for JDG to find easy resources on the map.
30 seconds left of a Baron buff that didn't really do much, but did put you back in some gold and showed us that crazier things can happen. But you mentioned the Ocean Soul in 3 minutes. I'll be looking towards that for eStar. And with this team, if you give them Ocean Soul, well, say goodnight.
And I also love the the death stances coming out for CJJ and Rad, and just very easy for eStar's comp to get a bit of MR on them to make sure that, hey, Zoom and Yagao aren't going to deal any damage, and it's going to pretty much be all on Loken's shoulders, which I'd say regardless it is, but even making sure you don't have to worry about Yagao or Zoom at all does feel pretty nice for the side of eStar.
Also feels nice that we did a segment on Loken to prepare him for this game one.
This is not an unfamiliar position for Loken to split for all of you who've been watching JDG's games. When players like Yagao, Kanavi, Zoom have been struggling, Loken has stepped up to be that main carry. Even with Lumao, who I feel like was probably the worst performing member early this split, having to lane with someone who just, again, wasn't playing well, was consistently getting picked off in lane. Loken was a saint to get them through that.
You normally see him on something like the Ezreal, but I mean, the Aphelios carry power and Loken at his heel.
It's the one thing you can argue against him this split, is he's at a very controlled champion pool. He's pretty much only played 3 champions.
Yep.
He's 11 games of Ezreal, 10 games of Ashe, and 10 games of Aphelios. He's played Misfortune and Kalista once.
Actually has the shortest 80 carry pool, I think, in the league.
Let's remember, though, that in spring he did play a ton of champions. And actually his most played was Kalista, where he was undefeated, I think all split long.
Yeah.
Undefeated all split long.
I think we got to playoffs and it was...
It was banned out every game, actually.
Yeah.
Banned out every game of playoffs against him.
Love that Ezreal's his most played. Good to see apart from Aphelios. Pulled on in. Lumao might be caught out. And Janet Kasara onto the damage member of Loken. But Zoom has brought Way into the death realm. Tempered Fate doesn't connect. Way about to come out of that death realm with Yagao on the heel, who takes him down. Numbers advantage for JDG as Loken's in the middle. And you know what? When it's easy to carry on Aphelios, you just do it. CJJ's not here. He's up towards the top side, but now he's going to run because JDG are like, we can end.
And overall, that once again feels like a massive flounder coming from the side of eStar. And I feel like you're right. We have 30-second death timers. We have an Aphelios. This should just be the game.
But CJJ is a 3.5 item Fiora. I don't care. I want to believe.
Let's see it, CJJ.
All right, this is your big moment. Versus 4 needs to run in. Teleport being channeled. Needs to riposte. Pulls it out now. Grand challenge issued. And to his credit, he almost kills Lumao, but that's a support. And that's game for JDG in 30 minutes. They got the ball rolling when they won the fight.
Yeah, I mean, they picked up the Baron. The Baron actually didn't feel like it was too much. And then them winning that fight just sealed the deal. We would have loved to see their comp just, you know, kite out from JDG and really set up for that Fiora to smash side lanes. Even if JDG end up picking up that next dragon,